Welcome to this Football Manager 2018 experiment where we're going to see if the Baltic states can dominate world football. I'll be completing this experiment over the next 5 days. There's going to be one part per day, and hopefully you're looking forward to this experiment. It was a popular comment in my Egyptian experiment, and then I put this within a poll that I put on my community section on my channel, and it was actually the top choice via that poll. So here we go, part one of this experiment involving Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. And the overall aim for this experiment really is to see if collectively these three nations can dominate world football, if they can win World Cups, European Championships, if the clubs within these nations can do well in Europe. That's going to be a really tough ask because there's so much competition in Europe, of course. But that's the overall aim. But I've also set up like a mini type of competition between these three nations. Some of you may have watched my Nordic experiment a couple years ago, and I created an Excel spreadsheet which would enable the nations to win points via a number of different things. So World Cup, European Championships, European International League, which is the new thing that's coming in, Confederations Cup, we've got the Europa League titles, Champions League titles, World Golden Ball, World Player of the Year, that sort of thing. And for each World Cup they qualify, for each World Cup quarter-final they get to, for each World Cup they win, etc., they will get points. And this will all tally up towards an overall points tally, basically, and the winner is simply the nation that gets the most points. So we'll see how they get on. I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for these nations to do really well on this experiment because, firstly, they're quite small nations population-wise. For example, Estonia only has 1.31 million people living in it. That could be a factor in the number of players that are able to produce that have a good standard and have good current ability, potential ability, etc. The reputation of the leagues, they're quite low to start with. The Estonian Premier League only has one and a half stars at the moment. But what I have done, for those of you that have never watched one of these experiments before, what I have done is on the pre-game editor, I have improved the nation's youth ranking. That's the key thing to this, really. So generated players here, I've maxed it out to the highest possible rating of 200. Not fiddled with the personalities of players this time round. I did on the Egyptian experiment, but I've decided to just leave that alone this time around. And the other things I've done, for example, I've made sure they're all developed states. They've got good financial power. The FA financial power is high and economic factors high. I don't fiddle with reputation because that is the key thing with FM. And if I do that, we'll see immediate results. We want it to be more of a natural progression. If I suddenly maxed out the reputation to 9,000, then they'd easily win World Cups. And that just isn't part of these types of experiments. It just doesn't make any sense to do it that way. What I've also done is for each of the top clubs within the top division of each nation, so every single Estonian Premier League club, what I have done is I've given them all, for starters, £15 million. I might give them another financial boost at some point if we see them struggling a little bit. I've also improved the facilities, training, youth, junior and youth recruitment, all to 20. So I've done that for Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. So you can see Estonia had 100. They were 125th in the world rankings. Latvia currently 116th in the world rankings. It's a massive ask for any of these teams to actually win anything. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can win a European Championship or a World Cup. We might not see them getting any points, but with the Nordic experiment we had lots of success. But we'll see. We'll see what happens on FM18, won't we? So I've done the same to Latvia. I've done the same to the clubs in Latvia as well, in the Latvian higher division, which has 2-star reputation starting off. And then Lithuania currently joint 127th in the world rankings. They're actually the lowest team, so they've got the biggest ask. But they do have the biggest population. They've got double the population of the other two nations. So they might have slightly bigger advantage. It's not all down to population, no way. Of course, Uruguay have managed to win the World Cup a couple times with a very small population compared to other nations. And then you've got the likes of China and India with huge populations and nowhere near dominating world football. And I've done them before in previous experiments and they haven't managed to win the World Cup, remember, despite having over 1 billion people in their country. So it's not just down to population, it's lots of other factors. In this part one, I'm going to holiday until the end of the 2026 World Cup. We'll go, first of all, 2018 World Cup, then 2022, then 2026, and we'll have a look at all the competitions in between to see how these nations have got on. If you are looking forward to this 5-part mini-series, please hit that like button. I forgot to mention that I downloaded these 3 divisions via the Steam Workshop because they're not currently loaded in the games. The Estonian Premier League, Latvian Higher Division and Lithuanian Premier League, whatever they're called, I've loaded them from Steam Workshop, all from the same creator as well, so hopefully they'll all be okay. So as you can see, looking at Estonia, currently 83rd in the world rankings. They've certainly improved. They've been as high as 67th, in fact, in the last year, which is... it's not bad for them, I don't think. That's pretty good going. I presume they haven't managed to qualify for a World Cup. I very much doubt that. They probably were out of the World Cup qualifications when we first began, to be honest. You can see they finished 4th in World Cup qualifying. Let's just have a look down this list. So Latvia finished 4th in their group, 15 points. That's not too bad, but they did have very easy teams with Faroe Islands and Andorra. Lithuania finishing down in 5th, 8 points. Not great for them, but they had England, Slovakia, Scotland, Slovenia. That's some pretty tough teams in there. And Estonia down in 4th, where they obviously had the easy Gibraltar, Cyprus. Not bad teams, so they did quite well to finish above Cyprus. And only 1 point behind Greece, which isn't bad going as well. And Belgium won every single game. Dominance from them. So Latvia 84th in the world rankings. So they must be all quite close together, actually, looking at this. Let's just go down and have a look. So Estonia 83rd, Latvia at 84th, and then Lithuania are down in 91st. So we won't focus on this too much. I'm going to holiday to the end of the 2022 World Cup now, and we'll see if any of them have managed to qualify for either the 2020 Euros or possibly the 2022 World Cup. So at the end of the 2022 World Cup, Estonia, 84th. I think they've dropped down one place since we last saw them. But they have been as high as 67th in the... well, that was actually back in when we saw it before. So they've not been as high as where they were in 2017, strangely. So I'm presuming they haven't managed to qualify for the Euros or World Cup. We'll have a look in a second. You can see the Estonian Premier League up to 2-star reputation now. Latvian Higher League still 2-star reputation as well, but 91st in the world rankings, so they've dropped slightly lower as well. They've not been as high as back in 2017. They did drop all the way down to 129th and then back up again. And Lithuania, they're the best, 61st in the world rankings. That's the highest they've been on the experiment so far. And they've actually got the lowest reputation league still, 1.5-star reputation Lithuanian R Liga. It also looks like they've got a couple good players, one playing for Roma. So Lucas Spalvis is actually a real player. He's 27 years old now, 17 goals in 54 games for his country, and he moved to Roma on a free, in fact, from Greece. So obviously good enough to get into the Roma team, although he's not played many games by the looks of it. And the second best player plays for Manchester City, so he is a regen. 2 goals in 23 games for his country from a defensive midfielder, and started in Latvia at Ventspils. I apologise in advance for all my terrible pronunciations. I'm not even going to try his name. But yeah, he moved to Man City on a free as well. Hasn't managed to break into the first team yet, but high hopes for him, I'm sure. If we just have a look, we don't want to start editing him. We just want to look at his reputation, current ability and potential ability. So he's got 181 potential ability. I don't think he's going to get there because he's 21 already. And he's only got 123 current ability, despite moving to Man City, which I always think if these players can move to big teams in Europe, they've got every chance of turning into a quality player because of the youth facilities, the training facilities, the coaches they'll come into contact with, the really good players they come into contact with. But it's not always the case, because if they can't break into the first team, it doesn't always mean that they're going to reach their potential. So if we just go back to Estonia and have a look at how they've got on in qualifying. So they obviously haven't qualified for either the European Championships or the World Cup either. International League, we'll have a look at that as well. So you can see here, European Championships, they finished 4th in their qualifying group for 2020. And World Cup wise, they finished 5th, so they actually dropped down a place ahead of the 2022 World Cup, which isn't great. In regards to the International League, you can see finished 2nd in their group. Now they'll be in the bottom divisions of this at the moment. So some of you may have no idea what this is all about, but you might have noticed in the media recently, the groups were drawn for the real life European International League that will be taking place very soon. There's 4 different divisions. There's promotion and relegation. There's 4 groups within each division. If you're in the top division, the top 4 will face each other in the semi-final stages, and then obviously you'll get an eventual winner of the European International League. In the divisions below, there's a relegation and promotion. So 4 teams will get promoted from this division and 4 relegated to the division below. So that's how it works. You can see Lithuania. Currently, they're in the second tier in Division B, so that's really not bad going at all from them. Moving on to Latvia then. So Latvia have actually already qualified for one European Championships previously, back in 2004. So we ignore that. That doesn't go towards the points table, the Excel spreadsheet. World Cup qualifying, you can see they finished 4th twice in a row now in World Cup qualifying. European Championships, they did manage to improve, finishing, 5th from 6th back in 2014-15. So slight improvement, I suppose, for them, but not massive. At the end of today's part 1, we will have a look at the leagues as well within these three nations. And Lithuania, 61st in the world rankings now. And likewise, 5th in their qualification for the Euros. Not particularly good there. World Cup, you can see they managed to finish 3rd. So that's definitely an improvement. There we go. Although that was out of a 5-team group, so it's not that amazing. They finished 3 points ahead of Kosovo, quite far behind Austria, and Germany ran away with that group. International League, you can see 2nd in their group. They obviously went up in 2020-21 season. They got promoted that year. Interesting that they managed to get through to the qualifying playoffs of the Euros in 2020. I didn't notice that. How did that happen? Because unless it's because maybe it's via the International League that they can qualify for a playoff of some sort. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure why they were in that playoff. It's now the end of the 2026 World Cup. We will have a look at the winners, by the way, of these competitions. I just haven't done so yet because none of these three nations have actually qualified for the actual Euros or the actual World Cup. Hopefully we will see one of these teams chalk up some points onto the Excel spreadsheet before at the end of today, although this is the last year that we're going to the holiday this year, so it's not looking good. Estonia currently 76th in the world rankings with Igor Prinz in charge. They do have a good player playing for PSG by the looks of it. He's 24 years old, 55 caps for his country already, and he's got 154 current ability, 168 potential. Not a bad player at all. Moved for £22 million from Malaga in Spain. Started in Estonia, of course. Did actually move to Lithuania. So then, Estonia, have they qualified finally? I think they might have, actually. Let's have a look. Qualified for the European Championships from 8th in European Championship qualifying 2nd place teams. That's a bit of a mouthful. But they managed to qualify for the European Championship and they finished 4th in their group. We'll have a look at that in a second. World Cup qualifying, you can see they finished 5th. But they will get some points. We'll tally up the points at the end of this episode. But let's have a look at the team just to see if there's any potential in the future for them to improve. They've obviously managed to qualify for their first major competition now, which is brilliant. Their best player is this chap, Vladimir Tam, who had 197 potential. Unfortunately, he's never going to get there because he's 25 years old now. But to actually produce a player with that potential is absolutely unbelievable. That is, I think that's higher than any player we saw in the Egyptian experiment, for example. He started at Silame, I'm not going to even try. He started at this Estonian team, moved to Tallinn for 650k, which was a good move because I think they're probably one of the best teams in Estonia. In fact, he started in a team that wasn't even in the Premier League. He then moved to Chelsea on a free. That was a good move. You're thinking at this point, yes, he's going to develop at Chelsea. They might send him out on loan a couple of times, but hopefully their youth system will do the business. He was loaned out once to Inter, but he only played one league game before moving to Hertha for £2.8 million, where he is getting regular football. But yeah, he was kind of wasted. It's a shame because he could have been the best player in the world with 197 potential. I think that might be what Messi has. 197 current ability, that might be what he has on the game, or might be slightly lower even. But he basically had the potential to be the best player in the world, and he couldn't quite get there, unfortunately. Looking at the potential of the players, you can see there's lots of potential here to be really good, but none of them have really managed to get there, as you can see. In fact, none of them at all have managed to get there. Under 21s, is there something to be positive about for the future? They've got a good goalkeeper here, possibly 145 current potential ability. In the under 19s, there's not really a superstar, is there? They've had a golden generation right at the start of this experiment and they've not been able to capitalise on it, unfortunately. They've got decent players though, and that's a team that's good enough to qualify for the Euros but not get out the groups, that's for sure. So hopefully they'll be able to do that soon. Latvia up to 73rd in the world rankings. Have they managed to qualify? So this is World Cup qualification. They finished 3rd in their group ahead of the 2026 World Cup. Obviously that wasn't good enough. European Championships, nope, they failed. They failed, I'm afraid. International League, we'll have a look at that in a second as well. But is there hope for the future? They have good potential here, but once again, they've got to their early 20s and they haven't reached anywhere near the standard that they were expected to. 150 current ability is very good. That's good enough for the Premier League. This is their best player. Vadim Uladrikis from obviously Latvia, 12 goals in 38 games for his country. Started at Spartak in Latvia in the higher league. Moved to Manchester United on a free, good move. Hopefully their youth system will do the business for him, but it didn't really, did it? He played a few games in the Premier League, as you can see, but he's now moved to Leeds United in the Championship, where he's a very good player for this level. You can see lots of goals, 16 goals in 20 league games. That is phenomenal. And then this season, 26 goals in 35 games for Leeds. That is brilliant stuff. Did they get promoted? No, they didn't, unfortunately. But he's scoring goals in the Championship, that's for sure. And he's a good striker for Latvia. But he's not good enough to fire them to glory. He's the joint best player, in fact, with this guy, Nikita Kenes, 25-year-old, 23 goals in 38 games for Latvia. Plays for Villarreal, where he's moved for a free. He seems to be scoring goals in La Liga, as you can see there. Potential-wise, these players, they've got potential. They just haven't quite got to where they were expected to get. But is there hope for the future? There's a player with 140 potential, but he's 21 now. And in the under-19s, there's a player with 145 potential. But yeah, once again, similar story really to Estonia. Lithuania, 91st in the world rankings, but very recently they were as high as 35th. So it's quite strange for them. That was 3 years ago, to be fair. But yeah, they have really dropped off over the last 3 years. Perhaps they've lost a couple really good players that they had. How have they got on then? So this is the European Championship qualification. As you can see, third in their groups. They failed to qualify. And this is the World Cup, third in their group. Once again, really unlucky for Lithuania. They have been unlucky. And what I'm going to do in part 2, I think, is give the clubs a bit of a financial boost. Maybe give them £100 million each to really, hopefully, push these players on. This is the best player in Lithuania, 54 caps for his country at the age of 25, and he plays for Juventus, £5.25 million he moved there for. He played in Mexico for a while, moved to Man City, and then moved to Mexico, which is really quite random. This is the current Lithuania squad then, and once again, similar story. They've got players with potential that just haven't managed to reach their potential. Despite moving to relatively big European teams, it's quite strange really. It's unfortunate that not one of these players from these three nations have actually managed to reach that top potential that they have, the promise that they have, and that's a bit annoying. We're surely going to see one of them. But look, they've got hope for the future in the under-21s. Andras Juska, 17-year-old, playing in Lithuania, has a lot of potential, 181 potential. They've also got a couple players with 157, 156 potential, so that's much better than Latvia and Estonia. Under-19s don't look particularly good at the moment, but they've got three possible world stars around the corner that can lead them to glory. So the past three winners of the World Cups: Spain beat Brazil in 2018, Portugal beat Brazil in 2022, and then Argentina beat Mexico, who did really well to get to a final, in 2026. At the Euros, first of all, won by Portugal, beating France in the final. Spain then beat Germany, and Italy beat Germany in the most recent one. But let's have a look at the most recent Euros just to see how Estonia got on. They finished bottom. Remember, the format has changed, so you can have three teams qualifying from one group. So they're a bit unfortunate here. They managed to draw 2 games as well, so that's really unlucky. In a group consisting of Switzerland, Germany and Wales, they've done themselves proud, I must say, to finish on 2 points and be pretty close to qualification. That's really unfortunate from them. Cyprus did really well to finish above France, as you can see there. Looking at the International League then, so we've had 4 winners so far. Portugal beat Germany, France beat Italy, and then Italy beat France. I'll just whiz down the leagues just to see where our teams are. So that's Division A at the moment. This is Division B, where we don't have any of the 3 nations, any of the 3 Baltic states, unfortunately. This is Division C, which Estonia are in. Lithuania also at this level. Does mean Latvia, unfortunately, are in the bottom group, but it's only up from here. Hopefully they can qualify from their group of Andorra, Finland and Liechtenstein and go up to the division above, because they're a long way from getting points from the International League, that's for sure. Let's just have a quick look at the divisions then. Estonian Premier League, currently 1.5 star potential, and this is boring. This team, Kaju, have managed to win the league every single year, which means they are qualifying for the Champions League. I very much doubt we're going to have any of these three nations producing Champions League winners, but you never know. They might make progress over the years, but well done to that team for basically winning the league every year. The Latvian higher league, currently 85th in the competition reputation. They have dropped down though from 72nd. I think they were up there with Estonia, but it's recently dropped down a bit. This is the most recent winners. So we've had a bit of variety here. Ventspils, Riga won it 3 years in a row, then Spartak, Ventspils, then Meta, and then Ventspils again. So it's nice to have a bit of variety in the winners of this division. And lastly, the top division in Lithuania, that's up to 71st. They've been making steady progress, and in this division Žalgiris have been dominating. They've won it every single year since 2013, as you can see there. They look like a good team with he used to be Lithuanian manager, I think. I recognise him. A two-star national reputation team, obviously qualifying for the Champions League. So these are the most recent winners of the Champions League. Lots of mainly Real Madrid and Man United dominating by the looks of it. And the Euro Cup. There's more potential for one of the Baltic state nations to produce a Euro Cup winning team, I think. That could happen. So if we go over to the spreadsheet, I think we've only got 1 point to fill in. Estonia have managed to qualify for one European Championship. But that is it so far, unfortunately. There's nothing else to fill in here. Obviously, no one's qualified for Confederations Cup. We might not see anything like that. We might see a World Golden Ball World Player of the Year winner. That might be the thing that separates all three nations, to be honest. If one of these nations can produce a World Player of the Year winner. So Estonia currently winning after round one, after part one of this Baltic experiment. They are on 1 point ahead of Latvia and Lithuania. So well done to Estonia for winning this part one. Thank you for watching part one of this experiment. Please hit that like button if you're looking forward to the rest of this experiment. Hopefully we will see some steady progress over the years. It usually takes a little bit of time. We've only seen one of the nations qualify for one of the competitions so far out of the numerous competitions available. But I think we will make some progress. Like I said, I'll probably give a bit of a financial boost to the clubs as well, just to help them along the way a little bit. But until next time, enjoy FM18. I'll see you very soon.